of a secret group, an occult society. Once upon a time, in the big city of Lagos, Nigeria, there lived a girl named Becky. Becky was what people called an Instagram baddie. She was very beautiful, with long hair, pretty eyes, and a cute smile. Every day, she would post pictures of herself on Instagram, showing off her glamorous life and her beautiful shape to attract men. One day, while scrolling through her Instagram feed, Becky noticed a man named Tunde. He was handsome and very rich looking. He had fancy cars, luxurious clothes, and lived in a big mansion. Becky was intrigued by him and decided to send him a message. "Hi Tunde, I love your style. Let's hang out sometime," Becky wrote. To her surprise, Tunde replied almost immediately. They started chatting. After chatting online for a while, Tunde and Becky decided to meet each other for the first time. Becky was very excited. She picked out her best dress and did her makeup nicely. She wanted to look perfect for Tunde. One afternoon, Tunde came to Becky's school to pick her up. Becky saw him drive up in a big shiny car. She waved and ran to him with a big smile on her face. Tunde got out of the car and opened the door for her like a gentleman. "Hello Becky, you look beautiful," Tunde said with a charming smile. "Thank you, Tunde. You look very handsome too," Becky replied, feeling happy. They drove to a fancy bar in the city. The bar was very nice, with bright lights and soft music playing in the background. Tunde and Becky sat at a cozy table and ordered some drinks. Becky felt like a real Instagram baddie. Tunde was very charming. He talked about his work and his travels to different countries. Becky listened with wide eyes, feeling more and more fascinated by him. Tunde made her laugh with his funny stories, and she felt very special and happy. They spent hours talking and laughing together. Tunde ordered some delicious food for them to eat. Becky tasted new dishes she had never tried before. Everything was perfect. As the evening went on, Tunde took Becky's hand and looked into her eyes. "Becky, I really like you. I want to spend more time with you," Tunde said softly. Becky's heart skipped a beat. She smiled and squeezed his hand. "I like you too, Tunde. I would love to spend more time with you," she replied. After their first meeting, Becky and Tunde started seeing each other more often. Tunde would pick her up from school and take her to the different fancy places. He bought her pretty gifts and made her feel like the luckiest girl in the world. As time went on, Tunde began to stay out late just to spend more time with Becky. He would tell his wife, Nkechi, that he had important work meetings or business trips, but instead, he would sneak away to be with Becky. Every evening, after finishing his work, Tunde would drive to Becky's school. He would wait for her in his big, shiny car. When Becky saw him, she would run to him with a big smile on her face. They would drive away together, excited to spend more time with each other. Tunde took Becky to many fancy places. They went to the beach, beautiful parks, and even to a movie theater where they watched movies and shared popcorn. Becky loved those moments and felt so happy with Tunde. One night, Tunde took Becky to a lovely restaurant by the river. The place was lit up with twinkling lights, and the sound of the flowing water made everything feel magical. They sat at a cozy table, talking and laughing, enjoying their delicious meal. As they finished their dinner, Tunde looked at Becky and said, "Becky, you make me very happy. I wish we could be together all the time." Becky smiled and replied, "You make me happy so, Tunde. I love spending time with you." Tunde squeezed her hand and said, "I promise to always make you feel special." But as Tunde spent more time with Becky, he started staying out later and later. Sometimes he wouldn't go home until very late at night. His wife, Nkechi, began to notice his absence and wondered why he was always away. Nkechi would always ask Tunde, "Why are you coming home so late? Where have you been?" Tunde would always give her the same answer, "I had a long meeting there. It's all for work." But Nkechi could sense that something wasn't right. She started to worry and felt sad and lonely without her husband around. Meanwhile, Becky was blissfully unaware of the trouble she was causing in Tunde's marriage. Despite the late nights and the secret, Tunde continued to see Becky. He couldn't stay away from her, and she couldn't resist his charm. They were both caught up in their own world, not realizing the danger they lay ahead. One evening, as they were sitting in a quiet cafe, Tunde took a deep breath and looked at Becky with serious eyes. Becky noticed that he seemed different, more serious than usual. "Becky, there's something I need to tell you," Tunde said slowly. Becky felt a knot in her stomach. She was worried about what Tunde was going to say. "What is it, Tunde?" Becky asked softly, holding his hand. Tunde hesitated, then finally said, "I am married. My wife's name is Nkechi." Becky's eyes widened in shock. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. She felt hurt and confused. "You're married? Why didn't you tell me before?" Becky asked, her voice trembling. Tunde said, "I didn't tell you because I wanted to have you, Becky, but I can't hide it anymore." Becky looked down and pretended as if she was crying, feeling tears well up in her eyes. She didn't love Tunde, but she enjoyed the gifts and the fancy lifestyle he provided. She wanted to keep things going because of the benefit. Then Tunde said something surprisingly, "Becky, if you are okay with it, can we still be having fun?" Becky was confused, but she needed the money, so she agreed to keep having fun with Tunde. So Becky and Tunde continued to see each other. Becky kept enjoying the expensive dinners, the shining gifts, and the trips to beautiful places. One day, Becky decided she wanted more from Tunde. She didn't love him, but she loved the money and the fancy things he could give her. So she made a plan. When they met at their favorite cafe, Becky looked at Tunde with big hopeful eyes. "Tunde, can I ask you for something special?" she said sweetly. "Of course, Becky. Anything for you," Tunde replied, smiling. "I really want a Lexus car," Becky said, trying to look as sweet as possible. "And I don't want to stay in the school hostel anymore. It's noisy and uncomfortable. Can you rent a one-bedroom apartment for me?" Tunde looked surprised for a moment, but then he smiled. "A Lexus car and a one-bedroom apartment. Is that all?" he asked, laughing softly. Becky nodded. "Yes, Tunde. It would make me so happy. I would be more comfortable and I would feel so special driving a nice car like that." Tunde thought for a moment. He was very rich, and buying a car and renting an apartment was easy for him. He wanted to make Becky happy, so he agreed. "All right, Becky, I will buy you a Lexus car and rent a nice apartment." Becky's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Thank you, Tunde. You're the best." Within a few days, Tunde bought Becky a shiny new Lexus car. Wow. It was silver and looked very fancy. Becky loved driving it and showing it off to her friends. They were all very jealous and couldn't believe how lucky Becky was. Tunde also found a beautiful one-bedroom apartment for Becky. It was in a nice part of the city, close to her school, but much quieter and more comfortable than the hostel. Becky decorated it with pretty furniture and made it her own special place. Becky was very happy with her new car and apartment. She felt like a real Instagram baddie. and she loved all the attention she got from her friends. Sunday continued to spoil her with small gifts and fancy dinners, and Becky enjoyed every moment. But deep down, Becky knew she didn't love Sunday. She loved the life he gave her, but there was still that strange feeling in the air. She wondered what would happen next and how long this life of luxury would last. One night, Becky decided to ask Sunday about his money. Becky looked at Sunday and said, "Sunday, how did you become so rich? You always have so much money." Sunday's smile faded a little. He looked serious and quiet for a moment. "Becky, it's a long story," he said slowly. "Please tell me." Becky insisted. "I want to know." Sunday took a deep breath. "All right, Becky, I'll tell you. But you must promise not to tell anyone else." Becky nodded, feeling a bit scared but also curious. "I promise, Sunday, I won't tell anyone." Sunday began to explain. "I am part of a secret group, an occult society. We do rituals to get our money and power. It's a dark and dangerous path, but it made me very rich." Becky felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean, Sunday? What kind of rituals?" Sunday looked into Becky's eyes. "We use people's destinies to make money. We find someone with a bright future, someone with great potential, and we take their destiny. We use it to bring wealth and success to ourselves." Becky was horrified. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You take people's destinies? How do you do that?" Sunday sighed. "It's complicated. We perform special ceremonies. It's all very secret and very powerful, but it works. That's why I have all this money and why I can give you anything you want." Becky felt sick to her stomach. She realized that Sunday's wealth came from hurting innocent people. "Sunday, that's terrible. How can you do such a thing?" Sunday looked sad. "I know it's wrong, Becky, but it's too late for me to turn back. I am too deep into this. The society won't let me leave." Becky didn't know what to say. She felt scared and trapped. She liked the money and the gifts, but now she knew the terrible truths behind it. She wondered if she could continue being with Sunday, knowing how he got his money. As Becky sat in her fancy apartment, she realized that the life of luxury came at a very high price. She was caught in a web of dark secrets and dangerous rituals. And even though she didn't love Sunday, she was now part of his world, a world built on suffering of others. Becky knew she had to make a choice. Would she stay with Sunday and enjoy the riches? Or would she find a way to escape this dark and twisted life? The future was uncertain, and Becky felt more scared than ever before. That night, after Sunday left, Becky couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about what Sunday had told her. She felt scared and trapped. She decided that she needed to leave Sunday and get away from his dark world. The next day, Becky met Sunday at their usual cafe. She took a deep breath and said, "Sunday, I can't do this anymore. I can't be with you knowing where your money comes from. I want to leave." Sunday looked shocked. "Becky, you can't leave. It's not that simple." Becky shook her head. "I don't care, Sunday. I can't stay with you. I want to live a normal life, not one built on hurting others." Sunday's face turned serious. He looked into Becky's eyes and said, "Becky, you don't understand. You can't leave because I have already used your destiny." Hey. Becky's eyes widened in shock. "What do you mean, Sunday? What did you do?" Sunday sighed deeply. "When we first met, I saw how bright your future was. You had so much potential. I used a special ritual to take your destiny and make it mine. That's why I became even richer, but it means you can't escape. Your destiny is tied to mine now." Becky felt a chill run down her spine. "You used my destiny. How could you do that to me?" Tunde looked sad. Do you want to lose you? Becky, I thought if I gave you everything you wanted, you would stay. But now it's too late. We are a part of this world, and you can't leave. Becky felt tears streaming down her face. She felt trapped and hopeless. Tunde, please, there must be a way out. I don't want this life. Tunde shook his head. I'm sorry, Becky. The ritual can't be undone. You have to stay with me. If you try to leave, bad things will happen to you. Becky felt scared and helpless. She realized that she was trapped in a dark and dangerous world with no way out. She had wanted the money and the gifts, but now she understood the terrible price she had to pay. As she sat there, tears in her eyes, Becky knew her life would never be the same. She was tied to Tunde and his dark secrets, and there was no escape. The future looked bleak, and Becky felt more alone than ever before. The story of Becky and Tunde teaches us something important. It's very tempting to want money and fancy things, but it's important to know where that money comes from. Sometimes, what seems too good to be true can be very dangerous. We should always be careful and make good choices. It's better to have a simple, happy life than to have lots of money that comes from bad things. Becky learned this lesson too late. She wanted a nice car, the pretty apartment, and all the gifts. But in the end, it cost her everything. So remember, always choose the right path. Don't let money or fancy things blind you. Stay true to yourself and make good choices, because happiness comes from doing the right thing, not from having lots of things. Another interesting story is dropping soon. Do well to subscribe to this channel if you're yet to do so, for you not to miss out. It is completely free. Thank you for staying with us. Bye.